Hi friends, it is I, your art teacher, Miss Claire, and I'm so happy to be with you again today. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to look at an artwork together and we're going to see how it makes us feel. We're also going to try a couple of new methods for making art in addition to that. So the materials that we are going to need today, I have a metal spoon. Why would I have a spoon? It is because we are going to make some plant prints. So I've also gathered some plants from my yard. So primarily flowers. I'm going to try these dandelion leaves. But right now is a really good time to use violets and dandelions because those are things that I'm sure you have right outside of your home. So we're going to be using these to make some prints today. And a print, like printmaking, means that we can make multiple. So a drawing is something that we do once and then we've made that drawing and it is done. We can make the same drawing, but it won't be exactly the same. A print oftentimes means we can make multiples. So if you have a t-shirt with text on it, that was done using printmaking, and probably there's a lot of those t-shirts with the same print on them. So printmaking is something that often means that there are many. So we are going to be using flowers. Now, if you have other flowers in your yard, you can try those too. I've just collected some violets and some dandelions, but all sorts of different flowers work, and it's fun to experiment. So see what you can get. I haven't tried doing much with grass, but pieces of grass might work. And the reason we have a spoon is because how we're going to transfer the flower to our paper. So those are some materials. I also have some crayons, so anything to make marks. I have crayons and markers, but I also wanted to say, if you don't have as many art supplies at home, I bet you could get creative with things that are around your home. So this will be especially important for today when you see the artwork we're going to be thinking about, but if your family has some highlighters that maybe they use for work or for school, you could also be using these because they are colors that you can write with. Or if there are different colored pens or pencils in your home, that's also something you could use. So don't feel too limited if you don't have enough art materials. I bet you can get creative and find something to draw with. So we're going to be using a couple different materials today, flowers and then drawing. So I want us to look at this painting. Now, you won't see my face for a little bit of time, but you're going to see this painting. And I'm going to keep talking with you about it. So this is a painting by an artist named Keltie Ferris. And Keltie Ferris is an artist who's from Kentucky originally. She lives in New York now, and she's primarily a painter. She also does some printmaking. She has actually done some prints of her own body. So using her body to make prints, sort of like what we're going to do with flowers. So putting ink on your body, and actually we've done this with fingerprints, right? So this is a painting by Keltie Ferris, and it is called oRiOn. Now, Keltie Ferris uses a lot of different materials in her paintings. You might be looking at this and seeing some fuzzy dots, but also much sharper edges. So she uses spray paint, but she also uses other kinds of paint, and she layers things a lot. So if we look at this carefully, do you see layers underneath some of what we see? I want us to look together at the bottom left corner. So it's got green, sort of a green square. Now, if we look at this shape, I think that there are more things underneath it. I get the feeling that there are a lot of layers in this painting. And that's something that's pretty neat, thinking about how we can build on top of things in our artwork. Now, we're going to come back to me for just a moment. Hello, I am back. I'm going to show you how I do my flower printing. We're going to return to this painting because this is something we're going to use for inspiration as we make artwork. But I'm going to show you how I do my flower printing first. So I'm going to take a violet, so the wild violets, and I'm just going to lay it on the paper. Now I just have the flower part, but the spoon works really well because it will help us to transfer. So I'm just kind of going to roll it. I'm using the rounded back side of the spoon, right? Look at that. I got a print from the violet. It sort of stuck to my spoon. So let's see if I can do more printing with the same flower. Oh, pretty cool. So it just takes a little bit of practice. Now that painting that we are looking at, oRiOn by Keltie Ferris, it's abstract. And when I say abstract, it means that it doesn't look like anything in particular. It's more about conveying a feeling or thinking about an idea, but we're not looking at a picture of something or someone. So that's what we're going to be thinking about today. So that is how I smash my flowers. Now, dandelions, or if you have other flowers you're working with, they might be a little bit different. So with dandelions, I can actually just kind of push them on the paper and make some prints. And they're going to give different textures. So do you see the yellow? That's the dandelion I just pushed on the paper. So it's almost like we're using the flowers as an art material, which is pretty cool. So the reason that I have these highlighters and my markers is because I want to create a whole artwork about feeling. Now we're going to go back to our Keltie Ferris painting, oRiOn. Now I want you to look at this and think about how it makes you feel. All of these dots and all of these colors and shapes, I want you to really look at every part of this painting. If we look at the dots, they are fuzzy, which is pretty neat. But if we look at some of the other painted marks, they are much more angular. That's very different, isn't it? And Keltie has put together this artwork. I want you to think about if it reminds you of anything. Does it remind you of the night sky? Does it remind you of a yard? Does it remind you of a forest? Whatever it reminds you of is okay. I want you to use this as a little bit of inspiration for what we're making. So I have the highlighters because I like the bright colors that Keltie is using in her paintings. So I'm going to be trying out different kinds of patterns or designs using markers, and then also my prints with flowers and maybe some crayons. So we are making an abstract artwork, meaning it doesn't have to look like anything. And we're going to be trying different materials and putting them together. So do what feels right for you. I want you to start by thinking about what flowers you have you can use and how you can print them, and then also what you can add to them. And maybe you do a little drawing and then you add more flowers. It's really up to you. So I'm going to keep the painting with us, but I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so you can see me. Now, I want you to go ahead and get started with whatever you feel. So we're going to be working on something that just makes us feel good. So I like Keltie Ferris's paintings also because I think they're really bright and happy. And I like the colors that she chooses. They're really vibrant. So I'm going to be a little bit inspired by the shapes that she has in this painting. And so I'm going to start making some circles. I really like these really, really bright circles. And I think I am going to go back and forth between flowers and drawing. I think I'm going to think about these circles also as being maybe like lights. Maybe your circles are something different if you choose to use circles. And if you see something different in this painting, that's okay too. I want you to make whatever you feel in response to the artwork by Keltie Ferris, because we all read artwork differently, and that's what's really cool about it, especially abstract artwork. It makes us feel different ways because we are all different people. And maybe you are making an artwork using different flowers than I am, which is also pretty cool because it means that your home is different than my home, which is neat. So I'm going to do a little bit more flower smashing with my dandelions on top of some of my dots. And then, do you remember how I said that her dots in her paintings are fuzzy, but then there's the more angular or square marks? So I think what I'm going to do is I have some dots that I've made, but I think I'm also going to make some square shapes. And I'm going to be using, it looks like a color palette of pinks and yellows. And I might draw on top of some of what I've already drawn because It's okay if we're making layered artworks. So what does layering mean? Layering means that we have something on the bottom, another layer like this. So it's okay if we have, say I've gone over a little bit of a dot, maybe I'm just gonna keep working on top and building out. So some artists work that way. Maybe you've done this too. If you've done something in an artwork and you were like, I don't like that much. Maybe you found a way to change it a little bit so you liked it a little bit better. So think about that. That's always something you can do. If something happens that you don't expect and you want to change it, you are the artist and you have the license. You get to make all the choices, friends. Now, flower smashing is pretty fun this time of year because we have so many things blooming. So if you have an adult in your household who can help you find flowers, I'm going to try this leaf. We're going to see what happens. Let's see if I can get any color from this. I can. So maybe you could even use some grass. Wow, pretty cool. Isn't that neat? We can use stuff that's just growing right outside of our doors. We live in a pretty cool place. All right, I'm going to show you how this looks. All right, do you see this green? That just came from the leaves. Isn't that cool? So you can experiment with things. See what you can find outside that you can use. It's also a good way to see what's going on outside. Just because we're making art inside doesn't mean we can't bring things from outside. And it's interesting that violets make a blue pattern, but they're purple. Isn't that interesting? There's a couple more of my violets. So I'm kind of building up one spot right now. And I'm just thinking about colors and feelings, and I'm really feeling the pinks and the purples. You might also see that I am doing different kinds of mark making. So I'm making different kinds of designs. I will point out what I mean by that. So sort of inspired by Keltie Ferris's paintings. I've done this mark, which is pretty different than my circles, right? So all sorts of different patterns and designs, because then we look at it together and it makes a pretty interesting artwork. So experiment with different shapes and different ways of drawing. Maybe you have some really strong color areas, but maybe you have some other areas that are really light, maybe just making dots. I might add a little bit of this crayon just to get a little bit of a lighter layer. Now, if Keltie Ferris's artworks look familiar to you, she had a show at the Speed Art Museum last year that was really fun. There were a lot of really big paintings there. And that is where I saw a lot of her artwork for the first time in person. So imagine that this painting I'm showing you is actually very big. A lot of her artworks are really big, almost like a whole wall in your house. And remember, we can go back and forth. So I think now I am going to go back to doing a little bit of flower smashing. And for these are almost like little stamps, my dandelions, because I'm just kind of smushing them on, pressing, seeing what's happening. You know what's really cool about dandelions, actually, and violets, is that they have a whole lot of uses. They are something that we think of as being almost like weeds in our garden, but they actually have a lot of uses over time. So people have used them for medicine in the past. Sometimes people make candy out of violets, which is pretty neat. You can make a jelly if you like peanut butter and jelly. I just made some violet jelly. So I've been having some peanut butter and jelly made of flowers. So it's pretty cool if we think about all the stuff that's just right outside of our door that has a lot of other uses than maybe we thought about before. All right, I'm gonna use another purple. I can't get enough of this purple. And now, so remember all those different mark making I had? I'm gonna try making just some lines. Just did these purple lines. Now remember, your artwork can be anything you want it to be. We are making this based on feeling. We're looking at Keltie Ferris's artwork, but It doesn't have to be just like hers at all. I was just using her for inspiration to think about how she layers things, because I think it's neat to see what other artists are making. I like that a lot. So sometimes it's neat to see what other people do and what their ideas are. I would love to see your artwork that you are making. Because even though artwork can be something that we work on by ourselves, it's also neat when we get to show it to other people. Sometimes we get more ideas, and it's neat to see how other people solve problems. All right, so now I have these lines. Yeah, so this is my artwork that I'm using based on feeling, and I liked the bright colors of Keltie Ferris, and I liked her circles, so I kind of took those pieces. And then, of course, I've got my flower prints in here. I think that I need to add some more flowers. Now I just kind of roll the spoon around, but you might find that you figure out your own method for printing these flowers. Pretty neat, huh? Oh yeah. And this is something that we could do year round depending on what's blooming, but really now is a great time because there are way more flowers than other times of year. Look at all these flower prints I did. All right, friends, so that's all I have for you today. Daisy wanted to say goodbye. She jumped up. So I hope that you have a really nice time making some abstract artwork using flowers, being inspired by this Keltie Ferris painting. I thank you for being with me today. I can't wait to see your actual faces in the classroom one day. I hope that you are staying healthy and happy with your families, and you're having a nice time getting to spend some quality family time together. So I miss you guys, and I will see all of you later. Thank you for making art with me. Till next time.